Balak, Derpixen, Red Moa, Zone Sama, and Armenian Cory, also known as Spaz Kid, all pinnacles of the art scene.
Explorers in the further regions of experience, demons to some, angels to others.
The question everyone has at the end of the day, or at least the Puritans in my comments, is why did they decide to do? Did something tempt them to the dark side as the internet loves to morally posture? Or was there something more? Something people ignored due to their own biased perception of art? There's sadly a tendency online to flatten art into something shallow, something purely driven by impulse or quick attention, something only done by with zero creative integrity. It's something that typically shows up in memes online about work, but that framing misses everything that's actually happening under the surface. At its core, art is still art. It sparks emotion, it communicates ideas, and in many cases, it becomes a powerful platform for storytelling and technical growth. Maybe not your kind of storytelling, but storytelling nonetheless. It's easy to assume that we live in a world where artists can just express themselves freely in any way possible, and people will support them towards success. But sometimes, like Saul Goodman put it,
you are not going to play by the rules. You're going to go your own way. You're going to do what they won't do. You're going to be smart. You are going to cut corners, and you are going to win.
And yes, sometimes it exists simply because people enjoy it. That part isn't complicated. But reducing the entire space to that ignores the level of craft involved, and the entire reason why people do it to begin with. Artists working in this space are constantly refining anatomy, lighting, composition, motion, and expression. Good work actually demands a sharper understanding of the human form and how to convey movement and energy in a convincing way. One of my all-time favorite artists on Newgrounds and YouTube, and a casual commenter of the channel,
João Pereiras,
that for as long as I can remember I've called Joe Pera because I suck at Portuguese and live in Quebec, so my only second language is French. That said, they said it best in a recent community post I made asking artists why they do art. You learn anatomy easily in this field, and it's more fun to learn this way than studying the normal way, at least in my case. Because go figure, sometimes you just draw what you love, and sometimes that's a hot little mouse critter with massive
I just think they're neat.
Because outside of that art, their skill transferred amazingly to all forms of animation they've done without the mouse. Even then, you can clearly tell their style has greatly improved over time by drawing what they love. But outside of that, there's the practical reality that can't be ignored. Art often brings immediate attention in a way that other forms don't.
The not stuff is the art that I've always wanted to draw publicly. And when I found Alfonso Aspiri, his stuff seemed to kind of offer a solution to how I could make that kind of art, but in kind of an academic way, in with draftsmanship and craft and all that. And then when I started posting that, it was the first work that got traction. So that led to commissions and all that stuff. Turns out the stuff that I was afraid to post was the stuff that other people wanted to see. Of course, you start to double down on it. Try to keep a balance so you're able to do the other stuff too, but you get to do the fun stuff that you want. You get to just make art whichever direction.
That feedback loop can be incredibly motivating, especially for newer artists trying to find their footing. And more importantly, fans actually pay through commissions, subscriptions, and direct support. Quick reminder, a like and a comment go a long way in helping this video reach the algorithm. Also, if you'd like there to be a part 2 to this video with your voice included, comment below so I know how much my audience would like to see that. Artists are able to sustain themselves in ways that many safe creators struggle to. That kind of financial backing isn't just helpful, it's empowering. It allows artists to spend more time improving, experimenting, and pushing their work further without constantly worrying about whether or not it's even viable for them. Another all-time great artist in the scene is Ray Q, someone who basically used his art to fund his education in the arts and to maintain an honest living.
Because I started as a self-taught artist, trying to find whatever information and learn from that, kind of going blind, trying to figure out something that looked good, and I thought it looked good, and there was a lot of struggle. Through being able to do that, illustration, artwork, even at that moment, I found a way to save money to study. And once I got the chance to study, and come here and study for like a year and a half and be able to like invest in my education later on, that I gained so much knowledge. Like I was so hungry to like be able to like know everything. I like the 3D storyboarding, like painting, like watercolors, like figure drawing, like everything I never had a chance to learn like 10 years before. I just put all my time and energy to do that.
And while not entirely the same, they are both still independent creators. Balak and Terpixin, you can see exactly how powerful that pipeline can be. These are artists who didn't necessarily come up through traditional studio systems. Instead, they built their skills through consistent output, often releasing animations directly to supporters. Over time, that repetition sharpened their senses of timing, motion, and visual storytelling. They learned by doing over and over again until their work reached a level that stands alongside industry production standards, to a point in which Balak has even bridged his way to more traditional animation work in the US. All because while yes, Balak is in fact a man of culture, through his art he was able to evoke emotions in his viewers. Emotions he could continue even into his safer work art like Superman.
And actually super happy with the Superman opening, because when we added little things here and there at the animation stage, that the wink that Superman does at the beginning, like I really wanted people to feel the little.
Oh, it works.
And this is a common thread for most of these artists.
But at the end of the day, for me, it's not about like shock value. I think I just wanted to just learning how to draw in a way that actually sticks. Exploring expressions, emotions, and body shapes in a way that feels engaging and memorable. And so far, it feels like doing stuff basically forced me to learn essentials if I actually want my stuff to be noticed.
One artist I greatly appreciate said herself, "I tend to draw content mainly because I'm chasing that sense of what really matters is the emotion they convey and how it makes us feel. Shyness, excitement. When the emotion is right, the intensity naturally follows." She wishes to remain anonymous due to her current work situation, but it still stands. The goal was to convey emotion, to evoke a feeling from the viewer. Sure, a lot of their art remains in short comics or single panels, but it's still a story. Some artists even go on to make full-on comics, like Earth, an artist whose work I've shared on the channel before. They've crafted an entire series on their OCs that most people will see and not even know they're from. But you can tell through the years of drawing and paneling they've done, they've genuinely improved their sense of style, and their visuals are genuinely on par with something like Scott Pilgrim, or any of the art for Jet Set Radio. And again, Terpixin is a prime example of somebody who's art as a means to improve and gain a sense of style for their animation, as they've admitted enjoying drawing this part.
I used to be satisfied with being able to animate. Now I enjoy giving those some context. What I mean is the storytelling part of the process is what I find so fun about making these animations lately.
What they found going forward was that they had a great passion in telling stories through the backgrounds, details, and emotive characters. The backgrounds of our animations became richer with every video, and the staging became more deliberate and creative, to a point at which some people actually just wanted to watch her animation and see her improvements. As to some, that became the main attraction of their work, which made her going on hiatus all the more sad, because the kind of growth that she had wasn't accidental. It was the result of consistent practice in that space, a space that, while controversial to some, offers immediate feedback and dedicated audiences that are willing to support it financially. And that brings up another point. There's this persistent idea that comes up when people ask the same question of why they do work. The idea that work somehow compromises someone morally, or that it places their art in a lesser category. But overwhelmingly, this is untrue. And this is where the broader animation conversation starts to get interesting, as mainstream shows face increasing criticism for stiff movement, limited frames, or cost-cutting shortcuts. Take the growing amount of complaints for Invincible's animation. Whether you agree with them or not, the conversation exists for a reason. People are beginning to notice where traditional production pipelines just fall short. It's actually led to more and more people wanting to champion the idea that Amazon find a way to let Balak and his team do key animation for fights in future seasons, similar to how Smiling Friends, with not even a fraction of its budget, features freelance animators to pull off gorgeous moments. Because everyone wants Balak to animate the action, people's perceptions are actually changing, which shows there's actually a chance that making art is a little bit more viable of a method of gaining more mainstream work. Also, if we can harass Netflix into spilling the beans on Steel Ball Run, we sure as hell could annoy Amazon with a hashtag bring back the corn animators trend. Since Bobby Pills, the animators of the Invincible teasers, pretty much commented as much in my previous post. But that said, you still see a vocal minority shun the art of established creators like Chris Sanders, the artist behind Lilo and Stitch. So while there certainly is a bit less of a stigma surrounding people who do, there still is work that needs to be done, because people still scoff at some creators' work, regardless of how established they are in the animation industry.
I don't know any more about Sanders. He seems like an affable dude with a very positive influence on his fellow animators. They use the right parts of what he's good at, resulting in this cringeful pencil. But just beside those photosynthesizing models, you'll find a really cool animal design. We find greatness by sifting through the crud. Things I've shown here that are problematic are not official Disney releases.
Move this man!
God forbid a man or woman have a hobby. His p***s are often treated like something that's separate from his quote-unquote real work, but that distinction just doesn't hold up under scrutiny. Those still require skill. They still rely on an understanding of form, style, and expression. They're not a lesser art form, they're just a different subject matter that might just not be your jam. Because the ability to render appealing characters, to capture gestures and personality in a single image, that doesn't suddenly disappear because the tone shifts in what's being drawn. Some artists are even harassed into being told that they should draw ugly characters, like that's the greatest sign that you're a good artist.
You can draw pretty, so you need to draw ugly. Show us a pot-bellied dwarf covered in pockmarks. So, that's what I tried to do. But here's something that I realized at that time. While it's definitely a good skill to have to be able to draw different things, and there will always be places where you need to have fat dwarves, old hags, and rotting zombies, these are not the things that I have ever needed to draw in the years since. I like drawing pretty. I don't need the skill for something that I never intend to draw.
Without realizing drawing appealing characters is in fact a skill too. It's why people still gush about the lifeguard and just the appealing art style of all the other characters in Lilo and Stitch, including the men. If anything, it highlights how versatile an artist can be. And again, Fave of the Channel said it best, Puritans might say we're objectifying bodies or going against moral/common sense, which I believe is actually the opposite. In my view, it's just a way of expressing physical beauty through our fantasies and tastes. Conventional art, Hollywood movies, and games do it, so why can't we? Because ultimately, art isn't defined by whether it's safe or sanitized. It's defined by intent, the execution and connection it creates with an audience. And what I think is the most important part that people decide to do art for, that often gets overlooked, is the community itself. Despite how it's portrayed from the outside, the NSFW art community can be incredibly supportive. Many of them share advice, promote each other's work, and genuinely celebrate improvement. There's a shared understanding of the challenges involved both creatively and professionally, and that creates a space where people push each other forward.
I think what surprised me the most though were the people in these groups. A lot of the work artists I've met thus far have been pretty chill and way more grounded than I expected, considering the type of stuff you usually draw.
I swear, as somebody who started following them more on Instagram, every time I follow an artist just out of the spur of the moment, I end up finding 20 other artists that have also followed them. That is how tight-knit this community is. It's insane. And besides fellow artists, as I mentioned before, there's also a financial end to it. Fans show up consistently. They pay for commissions without a second thought and tip well, and typically stick around. That kind of loyalty gives artists stability, and in turn, that stability leads to better work. It's a direct pipeline between passion and financial stability, something that a lot of other creative fields struggle to maintain. So when people reduce artists as something disposable, or to treat the artist as if they've taken some kind of lesser path, they're missing the bigger picture. This is a space where people learn, experiment, and build real skills. It's a space where careers can start, where styles can be developed, and where the artists figure out what they actually want to say with their art. Even if they don't choose to work with a big company like Disney or Sony, the community is always there for them. So why do people make NSFW art? Well, there's a lot of reasons, but at its core, for the ones who stick with it, it's simple. It keeps them creating, it gives them a reason to improve, to experiment, and to keep doing what they love. That'll be all, guys. I'll see you next week. And again, a quick shout out to both Mechanical Snow and Travis Mayer for reaching out and sharing their reasons for creating art. There are plenty of others who wanted to be included, but their submissions came in late during the editing process, and at that point, trying to fit them into the video already required an insane amount of censorship, so it just wasn't realistic. That said, let me know in the comments if you'd be interested in a part 2. That way, I can fit in more people, and I can highlight more voices with smaller indie focus. And hey, we're almost at 20k subs, so be sure to sub if you haven't already. Take it easy, guys.